Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make these fingerless gloves right here. Now they don't have any of the crocodile stitches on the back. Now fingerless glove where the stitches were only on the top and not on the bottom because it becomes bulky when they're on the bottom. But see, it's flat on the bottom and you got the pretty stitches on top. Now this is definitely not a beginner pattern. It's probably going to be intermediate to advanced, and it's kind of a long video because I take you from very first row to the very last row because it gets kind of tricky because it has lots of slip stitches and stuff. You got to try to keep your spot and everything. So I apologize for the long video, but the yarn I used is Mandala, Lion Brand Mandala yarn. It's good for these. Måneskin made a set of gloves. You don't have to use this, but I would recommend a lightweight number 3 for these gloves. So the color I use is called Chimera, and I use the size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, you want to start off with a chain of 30, and then without twisting your chain you want to follow it down, and we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a large ring. And now we're starting on the cuff part first. So we're just going to slip stitch into that first stitch like that, and then we're gonna chain 1. Now we're gonna go right back through that same spot that we slip stitched into and do a single crochet. So right back into it. I hate working with 3-ply yarn like that. And now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Just like this. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 30 stitches. Okay, when you make it back around and you have your 30 stitches, what we're going to do, and that's 30 stitches, not counting that chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. So you got your 30 stitches. Now I'm going to be working in rounds, so you're going to need a stitch marker. And I'm just going to use this piece of yarn here. So I'm going to put it right here where I just ended. And I'm going to be working now in the back loops only. You can see the stitch has 2 loops. The one closest to you is your front loop. The one furthest away is the back loop. So what I'm going to do is jump right over to the very first stitch and single crochet in the back loop of it only. Like that. And then the next stitch, back loop only, single crochet. And I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch all the way around. And all that's doing is putting a little ridge on the cuff here, just for decoration, I guess. If you don't like that ridge, you can just go through both loops and it'll just be plain single crochet. But I'm going to go through the back loop, 1 single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch until I get back to my stitch marker. And when I get back to my stitch marker, I still should have 30 stitches. Okay, once you make it back around at the end of round 2 and you have 30 stitches still at your stitch marker, go ahead and pull it up and put up like that. And then we're just gonna repeat that last row that we did. So I'm gonna jump to the next stitch and single crochet into the back loop, and I'm gonna work 1 single crochet in the back loop of every stitch again. So I'm gonna repeat this row for a total of 8 rounds. Right now we're working on round 3, so we want a total of 8. So I'm going to work 1 single crochet in the back loop only, and when I get back to my stitch marker I should always have 30 stitches. and then I just move my stitch marker up and I go around again. And I'm going to do that for a total of 8 rounds. Round 3 is what we're on. So I'm going to go ahead and work until I get my 8 rounds done, and that'll be the ending of the cuff. Okay, I've made it back around after I did my 8 rounds. Now I'm going to do 1 round of increases. So I'm going to go ahead and move my stitch marker up, but I'm going to be working through both loops now. So no more working in the back loop only. It's both loops now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the first 7 or 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the next one I'm going to put 2 stitches in, 2 single crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And that's why I'm going to repeat all the way around. And you see I'm going through both loops. So 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 6 stitches. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the next one is going to be 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And I'm going to repeat this until I get around to my stitch marker. 1 single crochet in the next 6. And then 2 single crochets into the next. One single crochet into the next 6. Two single crochets into the next, and you should have 2 stitches left over before you get to your stitch marker, and just go ahead and put 1 single crochet in those last 2 stitches there, just like that. And now you should have 34 stitches all the way around. And 34 is the number of stitches we're going to try to keep while we're doing the crocodile stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and take my stitch marker out because we're not going to need it anymore. And what I'm going to do is slip stitch over into the first stitch. Just like that. Now in order to do crocodile stitches, they are made on a base of double crochets. So now we're just going to go around and work 1 double crochet in every stitch. So we're going to start off with a chain of 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet. And then we're going to work along, working in both loops. Remember, we're not going to work 1 loops anymore. Working 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to our starting point. And you should have 34 double crochets, and that is counting that beginning chain 3 when you get back around. So 1 double every stitch until you get right back over here to the beginning. Oh, okay, so I made it around and I have my 34 stitches, and that's counting this chain 3. So I'm going to go ahead and end by slipping into the top of my beginning chain 3. And now I'm going to work some crocodile stitches. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to work it down this chain 3. So what I kind of do is fold my piece in half and kind of pull that chain 3 up. And I'm going to work 5 double crochets down the post of this chain 3 here. So I'm going to yarn over and go right through the post and double crochet, and I want to do that 5 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to chain 1 and kind of flip my work around, and now I'm going to go 5 double crochets up the next post. So I just kind of pull this post up and flip it so I pull it up so I can see, and now I'm going to work 5 double crochets up this post. So I'm going to go around the post and start working 5 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now what I'm going to do is skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next. So just skip 1 and slip stitch into the next, and you can see you got your first crocodile stitch made. Now again, I'm going to skip 1, and these 2 stitches here is what I'm going to make my next crocodile stitch. So skip 1, and then the next stitch I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to work 5 double crochets down that post. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to chain 1, kind of flip my work around, and then grab my very next post, and I kind of pull up on it so I can work through it, and work 5 double crochets up this post. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 1 stitch, slip stitch into the next. Skip 1 stitch, and we'll work our crocodile stitches in these next 2 stitches here. So you skip this one and work around the post of the next, and you work 5 double crochets down that post. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, flip your work over and grab your very next double crochet, and I kind of pull up on it, and now I'm going to work 5 double crochets up this post. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip the next stitch, slip stitch into the next, skip the next stitch, and then we'll work our crocodile stitch in the next 2. So skip 1 and grab the next one and pull it up, and yarn over and work 5 double crochets around that post. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1, turn it around, grab your next post, 5 double crochets up the next post. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to skip 1, slip stitch into the next, and now we're going to stop, pull up, and look, and you can see we have 4 crocodile stitches, and that's going to be our first row of crocodile stitches. It's going to be 4. The next row will be 3, and then the next row after that will be 4, then 3, then 4. They'll just alternate. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch in every single stitch across here until we get back over here to our very first stitch. So we're just going to start slip stitching. We need to slip stitch into the very first chain 3. Remember, we went down this chain 3 here. So go ahead and slip stitch. You gotta look for it. Slip stitch into that, just like that. So now we made it all the way across. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do another base row of double crochet for our next row of crocodile stitches, but we're going to do this one a little different. But we're going to start with a chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be our first double crochet. And we want our next crocodile stitches to be in the middle. So what we're going to do is do 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get over here to the middle. So this would be this chain 3. You got to look at the stitches behind the crocodile stitches. It's really kind of hard to see because we're working with a lot of slip stitches, but you just got to try to make sure that you're going in the right ones. So the next one will be right here. So that's 2. The next one will be right here in the middle. That's 3. The next one is 4, and the 5th one will be in the middle here. So what we're going to do with this middle stitch is we're going to put 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So if you look back, you can see it's where we slip stitched. So just kind of grab right in between the stitches and work 2 double crochets in that same stitch. And now I'm going to skip the next stitch and work a double crochet into the next. So I skipped 1. So there'll be, you can see that one I skipped right there, like that. And then double crochet into the next. And then 1 double crochet into the next. And then now there's going to be 3 double crochets in between where we put 2 double crochets. So now we're at the middle again, and you can see this middle stitch here. So we're going to put 2 double crochets into that middle. It's in between these 2 crocodile stitches. So we're going to yarn over and just kind of grab somewhere in the middle there, like that, and work 2 double crochets into that stitch. Now that first row was a little bit different, but the remaining rows are going to be like this one. And now we're going to skip this next stitch and double crochet into the next. So you can see it right here. We're skipping this one and we're double crocheting into the next one, which is right here. And then we're double crocheting right here into the middle, right here. And then 1 double crochet into this next stitch here. And that will bring us in between the next scales. And that's where we're going to put 2 double crochets again. So go right in and put 2 double crochets. Where there's 2 double crochets is where we're going to put our next scale. Again, we will skip the next stitch, so we're skipping this stitch right here, and we're going into this one right here, and double crochet, and then we double crochet into this middle stitch, and then we double crochet into the next stitch. And as you can see now, we have 3 places that have 2 double crochets into the same stitch, and that's where our scales are going to be, and we only want 3 scales this row. So now we're just going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning. Now what we're going to do is we are going to skip 1 stitch here, and we're going to work a double crochet into the next like that. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning. Now you can see the row of slip stitches right here along the side if you look closely. We're not going into them, we're going into the stitch on the top. So what I do is I kind of pull up and pull down with my thumb and pull up with my hook, and that brings the stitch that you need to go into. It pops it right up, so you can see it right here. And I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every one of them stitches that are on top of the slip stitches from the previous round. And they should be pretty easy to see if you're pulling down and pulling up. Like I said, they'll pop right up. I'm going to put 1 in every stitch until we get back to the beginning. And you want to make sure you have 34 double crochets when you get back to the beginning. That's the number that you need to make sure you always have. And sometimes it's kind of hard to get that because you're working with all these slip stitches and it's hard to see where the stitches need to go. But like I said, if you pull on them and pull down and pull up, they'll pop right up and you'll be able to see really good where they need to go. And when you make it back to the beginning and you have your 34 stitches, I'm going to count real quick. Counting this chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. I did it. I don't always do it. So don't get discouraged if you don't. Just kind of go back and look and see where you might have missed a stitch or put too many stitches. And now we're just going to slip stitch into that beginning chain 3 like that. Now we need to get over here to where these 2 double crochets are. So we're going to slip stitch 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now where these 2 double crochets are together, we're gonna make our next scale. So we chain 1 and we're gonna work down this first one. So I turn it on its side and work 5 double crochets down that stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, turn it, and work 5 double crochets up the stitch that's in the other double crochet that's in that same stitch. So go right through it. Sometimes it's hard to maneuver. There we go. And 5 double crochets. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to skip 1, slip stitch into the next, skip 1, and then you'll be at your 2 double crochets, and that's where you put your next scale. So 5 double crochets down the first one, chain 1, and then 5 double crochets up the next one. Skip 1, slip stitch into the next, skip 1, and then you'll be at your 2 doubles again. So you want to work a crocodile stitch in these doubles, so 5 double crochets down the post of the first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, and then 5 double crochets down the post or up the post of the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 1, double crochet or slip stitch into the next. And now when you look, you'll have your 3 crocodile stitches for that row. So now we're gonna slip stitch all the way across until we get back to the beginning. One slip stitch in every stitch until you get back to your starting point. Okay, I've made it to the end. Now the end of the row is this chain 3 here. It's not over here where we started the crocodile stitch. It's actually this chain 3 here. So when you make it there, just go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain 3. And we did slip stitch into it, but so go into the top of the stitch. And now we're going to chain 3 again, which counts as our first double crochet. Now we want to get into the middle of this crocodile stitch here so we can do another crocodile stitch. We want to put 2 double crochets in that middle stitch, so when we go back around again, the crocodile stitch will be staggered. So we're going to go ahead and put a slip stitch into the next stitch. I'm sorry, a double crochet into the next stitch like that. And then the next stitch is actually the middle stitch, so we're going to put 2 double crochets into the next. So what we did to start was a chain 3, 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets. Now we're going to skip the next stitch like we did before, so we skip this one, and then we double crochet into this one. And then we double crochet right here into the middle one. Some people go right through it like that. You can do that. I usually don't. I go right to the top of the stitch. Either way is fine. And then double crochet into the next stitch, which is right here. If you turn your work over and look on the back, you can see your stitches better. Like that. And now we're in between these 2 crocodile stitches. So again, we're going to put 2 double crochets in that spot, because that's where we're going to put a crocodile stitch. So just kind of go in the top of it there. My yarn keeps splitting. And work 2 double crochets. And now we're going to skip the next stitch. So we skip this one and double crochet into the next one. Double crochet here in the middle. And double crochet into the next one, which is right here. And now we're at the middle again in between these 2 crocodile stitches. So we're going to work 2 double crochets right here in between them. So there's 1, and and 2. Again, we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, and double crochet into the next, like that. And if you look, we have 1, 2, 3 spots to put scales. We need to do one more. So what we're going to do right here at the end of this one is put 2 double crochets into the top, or into that stitch here at the end. So 1 and 2, and that'll be our last scale. So as you can see, again, there's 3 stitches in between each of the 2 double crochets that we're going to put our scales, and we got 4 sets of 2 double crochets. So that's where we're going to put our scales. So now again, we're going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back over here to the beginning. So we're going to skip this next stitch. Since we put 2 doubles here, we skip this one, and we'll go into this next one and double crochet like that, and then kind of pull up and you'll be able to see the stitch. 1 double crochet, here's the next one, in each of the stitches until we get back to our starting point. You see when you pull, they pop right up. Just with this pattern, it's just important just to kind of look and make sure you're getting the right stitches, because working with all these slip stitches, sometimes it's hard to tell, but you'll get it. And like I said, the easiest way is to kind of pull down with this and pull up with your hook, and that'll pop your next stitch right up. And now when you get to the end, you should have 34 stitches, and you can still see that row of slip stitches that we did not work into or anything, and that's fine. But if you want to count, always count to make sure you have 34. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. And I do. So we're going to slip stitch into our beginning chain 3. And like that. Now our last row was 3 crocodile stitches. So remember, we're going to do 4 this time. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch 2 times until we get to this where we put 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So slip stitch into the next stitch, and then into the next stitch, chain 1, and then we'll work our crocodile stitch right here along these 2 stitches. So 5 double crochets down the first one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, turn it, 5 double crochets up the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip 1, slip stitch into the next, skip 1, and then you'll be where you need to put your next crocodile stitch. So 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chain 1, and 5 double crochet up the next post. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Skip 1, slip stitch into the next, skip 1, crocodile stitch into the next. So go ahead and repeat that. Do this crocodile stitch and this one, and I'll meet you when we get to our last crocodile stitch here. Okay, I did my last crocodile stitch, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. So I'm going to skip 1 stitch and slip stitch into the next, and now I'm going to slip stitch in every single stitch until we get back to the beginning. Okay, and I went ahead and ended in a slip stitch into that beginning chain 3 there. So now we only need 3 scales for this next row. So we're going to start off with a chain of 3, which counts as our first double crochet. So we want to start our first scale right here in the middle. So we're going to do a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next, a double crochet into the next, and then a double crochet in the next. So that's like 5 in a row. We're actually repeating the row that we did down here when we did 3 scales. So we're right here in the middle. Now we need to put 2 double crochets right here into this middle spot. Now we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, and double crochet into the next. And now we're in between these 2 scales, so now we got to put 2 double crochets right here in between. That'll be the spot for our next scale. Skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, double crochet right there in the middle, double crochet in the next, and now we're in between the next 2 scales, so we're going to put 2 double crochets right here in between, like that. So now we have 3 sets of 2 double crochets, and that'll be our 3 scales for this round. So we're going to skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, and now we're going to double crochet in every stitch all the way back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have 34 double crochets still. So I'm going to go ahead and work until I get back to the beginning, and then I'm going to count and make sure I have my 34. Okay, I've made it, and I counted, and I have 34 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of my beginning chain 3. And now we're going to have 3 scales this round. So we need to slip stitch over until we get to our first stitch that has 2 double crochets in it. So we'll be slip stitching 5 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're in that first double crochet there, and we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work our crocodile stitch. So 5 double crochets down, chain 1, and 5 up the next stitch, Now we're going to skip the next stitch, slip stitch into the next, skip the next stitch, and do a crocodile stitch over these 2 stitches. And then we'll skip one, slip stitch, skip one, and crocodile into our next stitch. And then we'll have 3 crocodiles. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 3 crocodile stitches, and I'll meet you here at this last one. Okay, I just did my 3rd crocodile stitch there on that row. Now I'm going to skip 1 stitch, slip stitch into the next, and now I'm going to slip stitch into every single stitch until I get back to my beginning. Lots and lots of slip stitches with this pattern. Okay, when we make it back to the beginning, and by the beginning I mean this chain 3 here, not over here where we started, we slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And now we got to do a row for 4 crocodile stitches. And after this row we'll do a thumb hole. So we're going to chain 3 like that, and we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, and then the next stitch we will double crochet into. We need to get right here to the center stitch here, and that's where we'll put 2 double crochets right here in the middle of this crocodile stitch. See it right here? Because that's where we're going to start our next crocodile stitch. Like that. Okay, skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, double crochet into the next, and now we're going to be in the middle of these 2, so we got to put 2 double crochets into the next. There's 1 and 2. Skip 1, double crochet in the next, double crochet right here in the middle, double crochet into the next. Now we're in the middle of these 2 double crochets right here. That'll be our next crocodile stitch. Skip 1 stitch, double crochet in the next, double crochet in the middle, double crochet into the next, and then the next stitch will get 2 double crochets, and that'll be for our last crocodile stitch. We got 4 spaces that have 2 double crochet for our 4 crocodile stitches. So we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the next. So remember when I said pull up on down with this thumb and up on this, and your stitch that you need to go into should pop right up right there on top of the slip stitch. And we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning, and you want to make sure again that you have 34 stitches. Okay, made it back, got my 34 stitches. Slip stitch into the top of my beginning chain 3 like that. Now I need to slip stitch 1, 2, 3 times till I get over here to this first V stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Now I'm going to work my crocodile stitch right here into this little V stitch, or I call it a V stitch, but It's not really, it's just 2 double crochets into the same stitch. So gonna work 5 doubles down it, chain 1, and work 5 doubles up it. Skip 1 stitch, slip stitch into the next, skip 1 stitch, and crocodile stitch right here in this V, or in this 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And then we're just going to repeat that until we get 4 crocodile stitches made. So right over here will be your last one, so I'll meet you right over here when we get our 4th one made. Okay, I did my 4th crocodile stitch there, and now I'm going to skip 1 and slip stitch into the next, and slip stitch in every stitch until I get back to the beginning. Back to the beginning, I mean the chain 3 here. So go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, like that. Now we're going to make thumb hole rows. Now the only difference actually is for your right hand, the thumb hole is going to go over here, and for your left hand, the thumb hole will go over here. So we'll do, I'll show you how to do the right hand and the left hand. This is actually going to be my left-handed glove, but I'll start by showing you how to do the right hand, because I already have my right-handed glove made right here. Here's the hole. So we need to do 3 crocodile stitches first. So we'll get that made first. So what we need to do is double crochet until we get over here to the middle of these 2. So we're going to start by chaining 3, which is our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet into the next stitch, maybe, and into the next, and into the middle, and into the next. So that was 5 in a row there, counting that chain 3. Now the next spot is in between these 2, so we're going to put 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and that will be our first crocodile. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, double crochet into the next, and we're in between these 2 crocodile stitches, so we're going to put 2 double crochets into that spot. My colors change into a pretty purple. I like that. I love the color changes in this mandala yarn. I hate that it's 3-ply, but it does have pretty colors. So now we're going to skip the next stitch and double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, double crochet into the next, and we're in the middle of these 2 shells, so we're going to put 2 double crochets right there into the middle. So now we have 3 spaces that have 2 double crochets in them, so that'll be for our 3 shell stitches. So we're going to skip 1 stitch, double crochet into the next, double crochet into the next, and double crochet into the next, and then I'm going to double crochet into the next. So what I have done is I got my V-stitch here, or my 2 double crochets in the same stitch, and I did 4 double crochets after that. Now I'm going to do a chain of 6. This is for the right glove. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I will skip 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and double crochet into the next, and double crochet in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. Now what you want to do is count and make sure that you have 34 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Plus these 6 chains. So that's 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, and I got one more, room for one more, and that'll be 34 stitches. Now that is for the right glove. And then what you would do is, so it's 34 counting these 6 here. You would slip stitch here and continue making your crocodile stitches. Now that's for the right glove, and when you try it on you can see that that's how it's going to look. Now I'm going to do the left glove too, so I'm going to take this out. And only difference is, instead of skipping stitches here, we're going to skip stitches at the end. So I did my 2 here, and then I got 1, 2, this is for the left glove, 1, 2, 3, 4, and continue putting, there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, skip 6, and you'll have 1 left to double crochet in, and then you'll end with the slip stitch into the beginning chain 3. Now this is for the left glove, and you want to count and make sure you have 34, counting these 6 here that we chained. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 33, and 34 makes my last one. So that is correct for me. And that, either way, left or right, we're going to continue the same way. I hope that's not confusing. I'm just going to do the whole, my video is probably going to be pretty long. I'm trying to do the whole glove with you because it is a little confusing. So now what we want to do is slip stitch 5 times till we get to this V-stitch, or this where we put the 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to do our chain 1 and do our crocodile stitch here around these 2 stitches. Chain 1, go to the next one and do your other side of your crocodile stitch. Skip 1, slip stitch into the next, skip 1, and crocodile stitch. skip one, slip stitch, skip one, and crocodile stitch. So I'm going to meet you over here at the end of my third crocodile stitch. Okay, I just did my third crocodile stitch, and remember I'm working on my left glove. So I'm going to skip one and slip stitch into the next. Now, if you want to slip stitch until you get to your chain space. If you're working on your right glove, your chain space is coming right up. And when you get to your chain space, you want to work 6 single crochets through the chain space. So if you're on your right glove, your chain space will be over here. So you're probably right near it. 6 single crochets through the chain space, and then you continue slip stitching until you get back to the beginning. But since I'm working on my left glove, I'm going to work slip stitches until I get to my chain space. So it's basically the same. You just slip stitch until you get to your chain space, where other side it is. And then you work 6 single crochets right through the space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then you continue working slip stitches until you get back to your beginning. Well, I'm only going to have 1 slip stitch left since I'm working on my left glove, and then I'm going to end with a slip stitch right here in this chain 3. So now we got our thumb holes made. We're going to do 2 more rows of crocodile stitches real quick. So now we need to do a row of 4. So we're going to slip stitch 3 times till we get to this middle stitch here. I'm sorry, not slip stitch. We're going to do our row of double crochet. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to double crochet in every stitch. I got a slip stitch into the top of my chain 3, which I didn't do. I apologize. I told you to do it and then I didn't do it. Okay, and then we chain 3. Now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each stitch until I get into the next 2 stitches. So it's 1 and 2. So counting that, chain 3. Sorry for all that confusion. You'll have 3 double crochets in a row, and then we'll be in the middle here, and we're going to put 2 double crochets right there, and that'll be our first crocodile stitch, because we got to do 4 this round. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch, double in the next, double in the middle, double in the next. Now we're in between these 2, so we're going to put 2 double crochets, in between them. There's 1 and 2. Skip 1, double into the next, double into the middle, double into the next, and then we're in between these 2, so we're going to do 2 double crochets, skip 1, double into the next, double into the middle, double into the next, and then 2 doubles right here in this last spot. So now we have 4 spaces that have 2 double crochets in them for our 4 crocodile stitches. And now we're going to continue. We're going to skip 1 and then continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning, and you want to make sure you have 34 stitches when you get back to the beginning. And when you get to these single crochets, it's just one, it's just the same, it's just one double crochet at top of each of these 6 single crochets. It's the same for the left or the right glove. No matter where these are, you just put one double crochet in the top of each of the 6. And now I have one left on this side. And now you want to count and make sure you have 34. I probably don't, but we'll count. 1, 34, I do. Like I said, sometimes I don't, and I just got to go back and look and see where I messed up. But I got 34, and that's what you need to have. End it with a slip stitch into your beginning chain 3. And now we're going to start working our crocodile stitches. So we're going to slip stitch over 2 times. And we're going to start our crocodile stitch here by chaining 1 and working our crocodile stitch, and then we'll skip 1, slip stitch, skip 1, crocodile stitch, and we'll repeat that until we get 4 crocodile stitches, and I'll meet you right over here at this last crocodile stitch. Okay, I just did my 4th crocodile stitch, so I'm gonna skip 1 stitch, slip stitch into the next. And now I'm going to slip stitch in every stitch until I get back to the beginning. Okay, when I say back to the beginning, I mean the chain 3 here. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And now we're going to do 1 more row of double crochet for 3 rows of for 3 crocodile stitches. So we're going to chain 3, and we need to start our first crocodile stitch over here. So we'll put 1 double crochet into the next, 1 into the next, 1 into the middle, and 1 into the next. You should have 5 there, counting that chain 3. And then we'll be in the middle, so we're going to do 2 double crochets in that spot. Now we're going to skip 1, double crochet into the next, double crochet into the middle, and double crochet into the next. And then we'll be in between these 2. We're going to put 2 double crochets in that stitch, skip 1, 2 double crochets into the next, or 1 double crochet into the next, sorry, 1 double crochet into the middle, 1 double crochet into the next, and right here in between these 2 we'll put 2 double crochets. Now we're going to skip 1 and continue putting 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get back to the beginning, because we have our 3 spaces to put our last 3 crocodile stitches. So 1 double in every stitch until we get back to the beginning, and remember, you should have 34 double crochets when you make it back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back to the beginning, you got your 34 stitches. Go ahead and end with a slip stitch into your beginning chain 3. Now we're going to slip stitch 5 times over to get to this where we need to do our first crocodile stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we'll work a crocodile stitch here, and then we'll skip 1, slip stitch, skip 1, crocodile stitch, and this we'll repeat that until we get our 3 crocodile stitches done. So I'll meet you right over here at this last crocodile stitch. Okay, I just did my last crocodile stitch, so I want to skip 1, slip stitch into the next, slip stitch in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. We are almost done. Okay, I ended in a slip stitch into the top of that beginning chain 3. Now I want to chain 1, and I'm going to go back in and single crochet into that same spot. And now I'm going to single crochet in every stitch all the way back around to the beginning. You want to make sure you get every stitch. You want to have 34 stitches when you get back around. So if you need to move your crocodile stitches around, make sure you get them all. Every one that we slip stitched into and everything. So just go ahead and work around. One single crochet in every stitch. Okay, once you make it back around and you have your 34 stitches, I went ahead and put a stitch marker here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over and I'm going to put one single crochet into the next stitch. Not that chain 1, but the next single crochet. And I want to put one single crochet in 15 stitches in a row. So this counts as number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now I'm going to do a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So I'm going to go into the next one and draw up a loop, and go into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3. So that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now I'm going to repeat that again, one single crochet in the next 15 stitches. And that should leave you 2 stitches left before your stitch marker. You want to go ahead and decrease over those 2. So go in, draw up a loop, go into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. Now you should have 32 stitches. So you want to pull out your stitch marker, bring it up, and now we're just going to work one single crochet in every stitch around until you get back to your stitch marker. And you'll have 32 stitches when you make it back around. Okay, I've made it to my stitch marker again, 32 stitches, pull it up, and I'm just going to do one more round of one single crochet in every stitch, and that will be, then we'll tie off after that. So one single in every stitch till you get to your stitch marker. 32 stitches when you get there. Okay, once you make it back around your stitch marker, just go ahead and slip stitch into that next stitch, and you can tie that off and hide that tail. Take that stitch marker out. One more thing I am going to do real quick is go around the bottom here with a row of single crochet just to clean that up. So you can start anywhere that you want. I'll probably start towards the back here. Go into any stitch, chain 1, and go back in that same stitch, single crochet, and I'm going to work one single crochet in every stitch across the bottom. And you should have 30 stitches here across the bottom. This is just to clean up this bottom row here. So one single in every stitch until you get back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back around, just go in your first single crochet, not that chain 1, but single crochet, and then you can tie this off Can't find my scissors, so I gotta rip it and hide the tails, and that's it. That's all there is to this. You're finished. But once you get all your tails hidden, put it on. And now it looks like that. The back's all plain and the top has the crocodile stitches. So I hope you were able to follow along. Okay, I know it's a little bit, probably a little bit difficult of a tutorial. But don't forget to check me out on Instagram also. And until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make these fingerless mitts that actually match they're the Houndstooth, that actually go with the Houndstooth hat that I made just in my last tutorial. Now if you haven't seen this hat, I will put a link to that below in the description box of this video, so you can make these wristers to match. I think that make a very nice gift set, you know, put a pair of wristers in this hat together. And I love the Houndstooth anyways. It's one of my favorite stitches. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, for this project, I used the same thing as I did in my hat. This is Red Heart Super Saver, just regular Red Heart Super Saver. It's 100% worsted weight acrylic. Now you can use anything that you have and that will work fine. I'm using the classic white and black for the Houndstooth. Of course, you can do any colors that you want. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Now to start off, I'm going to apologize first off for the black, but I just really, Houndstooth is one of my favorite stitches, and there's really no other color I would rather do it in than the classic black and white. So we're going to start off with a slip knot on our hook. And then we're going to work a chain of 22. What we're doing is starting on the cuff, and then we'll work our way up. Now you follow your chain down, and without twisting your chain, we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch to form a ring like that. So go ahead and slip stitch into that, and now we're going to work a chain of 3. And now this chain of 3 is going to count as a double crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every single stitch of the chain all the way around. Just like this. So 1 double in every stitch around until you get back to the beginning. And when you get back to the beginning, you should have a total of 22 stitches, and that is counting that chain 3 that we did. Okay, once you made it all the way around and you have 22 stitches, counting that chain 3, you want to end round 1 by slip stitching into the top of your beginning chain 3. And now what we're going to do for round 2 is chain 3 again. And now that chain 3 is going to count as a back post double crochet. Now we're going to work a front post double crochet around the next stitch. And it's the same as working a double crochet, but instead of working it in the top, we're just going to work it around the post. So we're going to yarn over and go around the post of the next stitch and then do our double crochet. Now the next stitch is going to be a back post. So we're going to yarn over like we're going to do a double, but we're going to come from behind and go around the post, and that way the post is on the back of our hook. And then we do our double crochet. Now the next stitch will be a front post double crochet. So we yarn over, go around the post like this, double crochet, and then the next one is going to be a back post. So go around, yarn over and go around just like that, and do our back post. And we're going to repeat the front post, back post double crochet all the way around until we get back to the beginning. And this is going to make a ribbing look. And it's the same that I have on the brim of my hat, so it'll match up with it. So keep doing front post double crochet, back post double crochet, repeat, until you get back around to the beginning. And when you get back around, you still should have a total of 22 stitches at the end of round 2. Okay, once you make it back around to the end of round 2 and you got your 22 stitches, you want to go ahead and end with the slip stitch into the beginning chain 3. Now what we're going to do is for rounds 3 and 4, we're going to repeat round 2. So we're just going to start by chaining 3, counts as a back post double crochet, and then we're going to front post double crochet around the next stitch, and then we're going to back post double crochet around the next stitch, and then front post double crochet, and then back post double crochet. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. This is round 3. And then when we get back to beginning, we're going to repeat it one more time. So we'll have a total of 4 rounds when we get done, when we get finished here. So just like this until you get a total of 4 rounds. This is round 3 right now. Finish this one and then repeat it one more time. And then I'll meet back up with you. Okay, once you went ahead and did, you're at round 4 now. We're going to end round 4 by slip stitching into our beginning chain 3, and you still should have 22 stitches. Now what I'm going to do is give a little bit of a stretch, and now what I'm going to do is do a row of single crochet, but I'm going to increase. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and single crochet. And what I want to do is 4 single crochets in a row. So that's 1. Now you want to make sure you get this next one here, because sometimes it doesn't look like, you know, it kind of looks like you might want to start going over here, but the stitch is actually right here, and you got to make sure you get that one. So that's 2, 3, 4 single crochets in a row. Now the next one, I'm going to put 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So there's 1 and 2. Now I'm going to put 4 single crochets in a row again. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the next one is going to get 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Again, 4 single crochets in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next one will get 2 single crochets in the same stitch. This is round 5 that we're working on. 4 single crochets in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the next one will get 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And then you should have 2 stitches that remain. Go ahead and put 1 single crochet in each of those. And now you should have a total of 26 stitches, and that does not count that chain 1 that we did. That chain 1 does not count as anything. Now what we're going to do is start a houndstooth. Sorry about that, I hit the light. I'm going to bring in my white right here. So what I'm going to do is slip stitch into my first single crochet, and if you look, it kind of looks like maybe this is the stitch, but that's not a stitch. That's actually where we slip stitched before. So the first single crochet is right here. Here's the chain 1, and here's the single crochet. So go right into it, and I'm going to pull my white yarn through like that. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to take the tail of my white, and I'm going to pull my main dark tight, and then I'm going to tie a knot. And I know you're not supposed to put knots in crochet, but I do it all the time. So I guess I don't follow the rules, but whatever. It works for me. So now we're going to start our houndstooth, and if you haven't done the hat yet, the houndstooth is really easy. So what we're going to do is just sometimes your yarns get tangled up, but that's okay. We're going to start with the white. Leave your black. We're not going to clip the black. We're just going to set it to the side. And we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to go back into the very same stitch and single crochet. Now the next stitch, this is round 6 that we're starting on. The next stitch is going to be a double crochet. and then the next stitch will be a single, and then the next will be a double. So all it is a double, single crochet, a double crochet, repeat. The next one will be a single, and then the next one will be a double. Now you want to repeat this single crochet, double crochet, repeat until you get back around to the beginning. Single crochet, and then double crochet, single crochet, and then double crochet. So I'm going to repeat this until I get all the way around to the end of round 6. Okay, I've made it to the end of round 6, and you should always still have 26 stitches. Now I started round 6 in a single crochet, so I'm going to end it in a double. That's how you know that you did it right. So now I'm going to pull my black through. So I'm going to drop that white, and I'm going to go into my very first single crochet, not this chain one here, but the very first single, and I'm going to pull my black through, slip stitch it through like that, and kind of pull that white tight. Now I'm going to start my black yarn with a double crochet, and then the black will end in a single. So white rows always get started in single and end in a double. Black rows always start with a double and end in a single. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do a double crochet in this very first stitch. Now what I like to do to kind of make my seam look a little bit better, because I'm working the houndstooth in the round, and originally it's just worked back and forth. So to make the seam look a little better, I'm going to yarn over and go into that same stitch. Now if you turn your work over, you see this piece of black string right here that's we're carrying up with us. I go put my hook on, I kind of stretch it out. You don't have to do this, but I'm really particular about my seams. So, and then I put my hook through that, and then I do my double crochet, and that kind of locks that string in place. That way it's not going to pop out during your seam, anytime on your seam. Now go ahead and pull that white tight again, your white string here, like that, and hold that in place. And then we're just going to start the double crochet, single crochet, repeat again. So we started the black with the double, so the next is going to be the single, and then a double, and then a single. And this is round 7 that we're working on. A double and a single. And the more rounds that we do of this, you'll be able to see the houndstooth that's starting to take place. Double, and then a single. And we want to repeat this double crochet, single crochet, repeat until we get back around to the end of round 7. And you can kind of start to see it taking place a little bit. So I'm going to repeat that till I get to the end of the row here. Okay, I've made it back around to the end of round 7, and I ended in a single because I started in a double. So what I'm going to do is change colors again. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first double crochet, and now I'm going to pull my white through. And now it's just kind of a repeat of rows 6 and 7. So what I do is we're going to start with the single this time. White always starts with a single, black always starts with a double. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet back into that same stitch. So I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to go through this yarn right there like that, and then that will lock that down. Did I do that right? No, I yarned over like I'm going to go in it like I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm sorry. And then I'm going to go into this yarn right here, grab it, and then do my single, and that kind of holds that in place so it don't pop out on your seam. And I'm going to repeat. Now we're on round 8, so the next one will be a double, and then a single, and then a double, and then a single. So you want to repeat this all the way around. So we're repeating rows 6 and 7, and we're on row 8 now. We want to repeat rounds 6 and 7 until we get a total of 13 rounds. I'll meet you on the 13th round. The 13th round is where we make the thumb hole, and that is the only difference between the right and the left glove, is where we put the thumb hole. So go ahead and work your way up until you get to your 13th row, which will be a black row, and I'll meet you there, and then we'll start again. So just continue repeating rows 6 and 7. We're on row 8 now, until you get to row 13. Stop at 13 and I'll meet you right there. And remember, we should always have 26 stitches at the end of every row. I'm at round 13 now, and this is the only difference in the pattern is the way that the I'm getting ready to start round 13 is the way that the thumb holes are. Since there is a seam, you don't want the seam. If we made them both the seam would be on top of your hand on one of them, and you don't want that. So what we're going to do first is the left glove. So everything's the same except for this round right here. So this would be the left glove. What you would do for your left glove is start out by chaining 1 and doing your double crochet into that first stitch, just like we've been doing. Try to get that. Now we want to work the double crochet, single crochet over the first 5 stitches for the left glove. So that was 1. Now we're going to do a single crochet, that's 2. Double crochet, that's 3. Single crochet, that's 4. And double crochet, that's 5. Now we chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we skip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the next one will be a single crochet, and we double crochet into that single crochet. So this is for the left glove, just like that. And now we'll continue our pattern all the way around to the beginning. Single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet. And we'll do that all the way around until you get back to the beginning, and that is for the left glove. Glove, we're on row 13. What we're going to do is yarn over and do our double crochet in the first stitch, and we're going to work our double crochet, single crochet, repeat over the first, and we're going to repeat that over the first 15 stitches. Okay, here's 15 that I've done, and I ended in a double crochet just like we did on the other glove. So now we're going to chain 5, skip 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next one will be a single crochet, so you need to double crochet into that one. 1, 2, 4, 5. Skip your 5, double crochet into the next. And then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. Counting this one, you'll have 6. Now on the left glove, we started with 5, but we're going to end on the right glove. We're going to end in 6. So just keep doing your repeat here until you get to the end. And this is round 13. It's like that. And now that's the only difference in them. Now we're going to change colors. Since I already have my left glove done, I'm working on my right one now. So go ahead and switch colors, just like we normally do. And chain 1, single crochet into that first stitch, excuse me. Now we're going to do our single crochet, double crochet, repeat until we get to our chain space. Now if you're working on your left glove, it's gonna come up first, but I'm working on my right glove, so I'm gonna work my double crochet or single crochet, double crochet, repeat until I get back around to the chain space. Now it's worked the exact same, it's just your chain space is at a different point on the glove. So let me hurry up and get around to there. And that way I'll show you how to do it. Okay, now when you get to your chain space, the last stitch was a double crochet. On either glove it was the same thing. So you go ahead and single crochet in that, and then you got 5 chain spaces. So your next one needs to be, go into the first chain space, and it needs to be a double crochet, and then single crochet into the next chain space, double crochet into the next chain space, single crochet into the next chain space, double crochet into the last chain space, and then right here is the double crochet that we ended with. Go ahead and single crochet into that, and now you just do your repeat until you get to the end of the row. And since I'm doing my right glove, my end is coming right up. If you're working your left glove, you got to go back all the way back around, but just continue the repeat. Now that's the only difference. We're working on row 14 now, so row 13 and 14 was the only difference between the two. The rest of the glove is made the same. So I'm coming to the end of row 14, and I'm gonna end it like usual. Change my yarn out just like that. Now I want to continue this for, let me look at my glove here, until you get a total of 18 rows. So we're on row 14 now. You can see it right here, 14. You want 15, 16, 17, 18 rows. You should end in a white row. So now we're just continuing what we were doing down here. It's the same thing. You'll end in 26 stitches. We just finished row 14. We're starting row 15, and you want to work till you get to round 18. So I'm just going to continue doing my houndstooth repeat here, repeating these two black and white rows. I'm on round 15 now, and I'm going to go till I get to round 18. Okay, I've made it to my round 18. Now I'm going to slip stitch up here into my first single crochet and pull my black through like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this white yarn off because we're not going to use it anymore. But I'm going to clip it kind of long so I can sew it in like that. That way it's not getting tangled up in there anymore. So now we're just going to continue with the black. And what I'm going to do is a row of decreases. So I'm going to go ahead and chain one and single crochet back the same way into my first stitch. So I'm going to do 4 single crochets in a row, and then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to do a single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. We're not doing the houndstooth anymore. We're done with that. So a single crochet decrease. I'm going to go into the next stitch and drop a loop, and I'm going to go into the next one and drop a loop. I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops. So that turned 2 stitches and made it in 1. Now I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches again. And then I'm going to do a single crochet decrease again over the next 2. So I'm going to go into the next one, drop a loop, go into the next one, drop a loop, yarn over, and go on through all 3. So I'm going to keep doing that. Repeat 4 single crochets in a row. And then the single crochet decrease, and then 4 single crochets in a row, and then a decrease, and you should have 2 stitches left. Like, go through and single crochet in each of those 2 stitches. And now you should have a total of 22 stitches again, like we did at the beginning. Now you want to get some type of stitch marker. I'm just going to clip me a piece of yarn here. And I'm going to stick it here so I know where I begin and where I end. And now what I'm just going to do is 2 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch. So I'm just going to jump to the next stitch and single crochet in it. Not the chain one, but the single crochet. And I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. And I'm going to do that for 2 rounds. So this is number 1. Trying to hurry here to get around. and you'll have 22 stitches still when you reach your stitch marker. And when you get to your stitch marker, go ahead and pull it out, move it up, and go around one more time with one row or one single crochet in every stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll tie this off. Okay, I made it back to my stitch marker, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull that out, and then I'm going to just go ahead and slip stitch into the next stitch, and that's going to end that round. And then you can tie that off and hide that tail. So I'll go ahead and hide that tail here at the end. So I'm going to do a couple more things here. I'm going to go around the edge of the thumb hole, and I'm going to go around the edge at the bottom. So we'll start with the bottom just to clean them up, make them look a little bit more presentable, I guess, if you're going to give them for a gift. Put the right side of your glove facing you, and kind of find the seam from the beginning and start somewhere near that, and go into one of the stitches and chain one, and then just go back into that same stitch and single crochet. And then we're just going to work one single crochet in every stitch around until you get back to the beginning, and that's going to clean up that bottom edge. I'm going to try to hide my tails as I go. Both of them, I guess. Well, the one from the beginning and then this one from right here. So I'm just going to work one single crochet in every stitch around the bottom. And you should have 22 stitches when you get back around, since that's what we started with. It's hard hiding two tails at the same time. They tend to get tangled up. If you don't have exactly 22, it's really not that big of a deal, but you should be able to get 22 out of it because you can see the stitches pretty easy. And then when you make it back to your starting point, go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first single crochet here, not the chain one. Apologize again for the black yarn. Tie that off, clip that, hide that tail. Now one more thing I'm going to do is go around the thumb hole. So I'm going to start, you see right here, I'm going to start right here into this. You see there's two stitches here, one here and one here. I'm going to start into this one. Start my yarn with a chain one, go back into that same spot and single crochet. And then the next spot is going to be this one right here. You can see it's already been worked, but go into it again and single crochet. And then one single crochet in each of these stitches here of the thumb hole. When you get over here, it's kind of hard, it's just a small spot. You go into that spot there that was worked, and then we're going to put one here into this spot right here, and one right here into this next spot, or this next stitch right here. And each of these stitches it's kind of just one loop. Now, you should have, when you get over here to the end, go into this last little stitch here, 16 stitches. If you don't, go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first one, not the single crochet, or not the chain one, but the single crochet. If you don't have 16, don't worry about it. Don't redo it. You know, 15's okay, 17's okay, just somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect, and nothing that we crochet is ever going to be perfect. That's what makes it unique. Now all you want to do is hide all these tails, and that's it. That's all there is to it. So that is my right-handed glove, which I already have my left done. Got to get all of them tails hidden, but that's all there is to it. So don't forget to check out the hat too here to match it. I think that would make a really nice, after I hide all them tails hanging, Christmas set. I really love the Houndstooth. So if you make, I'll also put a link to Instagram, so you can check me out on there too, see what's going on with me. I don't always post on there, but sometimes I do. But until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, so I'm going to show you how to make these fingerless gloves. I got some tails to hide still, but it's made with, here's the thumb hole. They're made with the side puff stitch, and I have a scarf to match, and I have a tutorial for this also. So if you want to watch the tutorial for this and you want to make it, I'll put a link to this tutorial below in the description box of this video, so you can make like a little set. Be good for Christmas. I made it for a Christmas gift. So for this project, I'm using Caron Simply Soft, which is a worsted weight acrylic yarn, and the color is called Gold. It's like a variegated orange and brown, and this has, I think, like 200 yards in it. Yeah, 204 yards, but one skein will be more than enough to make a pair of these. And then I'm going to be using a size H, which is a 5mm crochet hook. Okay, you want to start with a chain of 24, and this is one I'm going to hook it together here without twisting my chain. I'm going to slip stitch into the very first stitch to form a large ring. And this is like going to be the cuff part of the wristers. So just start by chaining one, and then all you want to do now is go around putting one single crochet in every stitch. And I apologize if you can hear my family in the other room. My husband and the kids are in there playing, so they're probably kind of loud. But just one single crochet in every stitch, just like this, and you want to do that all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, when you make it all the way around that row of single crochet, you want to count and make sure you have your 26 stitches. You want to make sure you keep that stitch count, and once you count it and you got 26, all we're going to do is just jump on over to that first one right here, at first, like chain one here, and we're gonna do continual rounds of single crochet. So if you want to put a stitch marker here, you can. I'm just going to use the tail of the yarn as my stitch marker, so that way I know where I start and where I finish. So now I'm just going to jump on over here to the next stitch here and single crochet in it. Kind of tight because it's a chain one space. There we go. And now I'm going to work my way around again, putting one single crochet in every stitch. So now I'm just going to be doing, for the cuff, it's just rounds of one single crochet in every stitch. But you want to make sure after every round that you keep your 26 stitches, because you need to have that number in order for the puff stitches to work out okay. And I'm going to do a total of 8 rounds. So right now I'm on my second one. So I'm going to go around again, and when I get back to the beginning, I'll just move my stitch marker up and go again. And you want to do that for a total of 8 rounds. Okay, once you made it back to the beginning and you're done with your 8 rows, now we're going to do 1 row of increases. So just you can put your stitch marker back here. I want to go ahead and do 5 single crochets in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that stitch. So 1, 2. Now I'm going to do 5 in a row again. 1, 2, 3, 4, that was 4, and here's 5, and then in the next one I'm going to go ahead and put 2 single crochets again in the next stitch. Now I'm just going to repeat that pattern. I'm going to do 5 single crochets in a row and then 2 in the next one, all the way back around. After you made it back around and you just did your last increase stitch, there's 2 stitches here and 1 stitch. You should have 2 stitches left over, so just go ahead and put 1 single crochet in each of them. And then now you should have a total of 30 stitches all the way around. Okay, now we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, just go right into it and double crochet like that. Now I'm going to work around the post of this double crochet and I'm going to do a puff stitch. So this post that we just did, so I'm going to yarn over and go right through the and around the post, and I'm going to drop a loop, and I'm going to yarn over and go right through the post, right around it to the back side, drop a loop. And I'm going to do that one more time for a total of 3 times. I did that. Drop a loop. Now you should have 7 loops on your hook, and what you want to do is yarn over and go through 6 of them. Go through all but 1. Leave that last one on your hook, and that'll leave 2 loops. Yarn over and go through them last 2 like that. So that's how you do the side puff. Now we're going to skip 1 stitch and then we're going to double crochet into the next. So skip and then double crochet. Again, we're going to use this post to go around. So we're going to yarn over and just go right around the whole post, drop a loop, and do that 3 times. That's 1, 2, and 3. Yarn over and go through 6 of the 7 loops that are on your hook, and then you yarn over and go through the remaining loops like that. Okay, skip 1 stitch and double crochet into the next, and here's our post again. So we're going to yarn over and go around the post 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Yarn over and go through 6 of the 7 loops that are on your hook, and then yarn over and go through the last 2 like that. And we just kind of repeat this all the way around. Skip a stitch and double crochet into the next, and now we make our puff stitch around the post. Do that. Like that. 7 loops. Yarn over and go through all of them. All of them but the last one. And then yarn over and go through the remaining ones. Like that. So I'm just going to repeat that all the way back around until I get to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back all the way back around to the beginning, you should have 1 stitch left to skip. And then we're back right here at the beginning. Here's where we did that first double crochet. So we're just going to jump right over into that where we did that first double crochet, and we wrap the puff stitch around it and single crochet into it like that. And now I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, and you want to make sure that you get all the stitches. You should have a total of 30 when you get back around. So there'll be this next stitch right here is at the top of this puff stitch, single crochet, and then the next stitch is right here, which is actually that double crochet, single crochet, and then right here, which is the top of that puff stitch, and then right here, which is that double crochet from the previous row. So go all the way around with one single crochet in every stitch, and I'll meet you back up at the beginning. Okay, I made it back to the beginning after that row of single crochet, and here's where I put my very first single crochet. So now I'm going to do another row of the puffs by just double crocheting into that first single crochet, and then that's going to be the post for my first puff stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do my puff right through that double crochet post, or right around it. Just like that. And then I'm going to skip a stitch and double crochet into the next. And then I'll do another puff stitch around this post. Like that. Skip a stitch and double crochet into the next, and another post. So you're just going to repeat this row of puff stitches back to the beginning. Okay, I made it back around with my second row of puff stitches, you can see, and I'm going to skip this one, and I'm going to start with a row of single crochet again. So I'm going to go ahead and single crochet into this first stitch here, like that, and now I'm going to work my way around doing one single crochet in every stitch, just like we did before. And you want to make sure that you have 30 when you get back around to the beginning. Okay, I made it back around after that row of single crochet, and I'm back to the beginning. And again, I'm going to do one more row of puff stitches before I make the thumb hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by jumping over to the next stitch and starting with my double crochet. And then I'll start doing my puff around that post. Like that. Skip a stitch, double crochet into the next. So I'm just going to repeat the puff stitch row all the way back to the beginning, and then we'll make a thumb hole. Okay, I made it back to the beginning again. Now we're going to do a row of single crochet, but I'm going to leave a spot for the thumb hole this time. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that stitch and single crochet into the next, just like I normally would, like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now I'm going to skip 3 of these stitches, so there's 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to single crochet into the next, like that. And now I'm just going to work my way around, putting one single crochet in every stitch, just like we did before. So that's our thumb hole. Now the 30 stitches doesn't matter anymore. You don't have to keep track of that, because we'll have a few more after this round. So just go ahead and put one single crochet in every stitch till you get back around here to the beginning. Okay, once you make it back around, here's that first single crochet we did before the chain. I'm going to go ahead and we'll start our puff stitches by doing a double crochet into that and doing our first puff stitch around that double crochet post. Like that. And now we're just going to work the same pattern, but we're going to work it in this chain too. So we're going to skip one stitch and a double crochet into the next. and then do our puff stitch around that. Skip one stitch with the chain and double crochet in the next. That, do our puff stitch. Like that. Skip a stitch, do our puff stitch. And then there'll be a stitch left of the chain here. You can kind of get caught up in there, but it's there. Skip it, and then double crochet in the next, like that. And I'm just going to repeat this puff stitch pattern all the way back around to the beginning, just like we normally would. And now, well, now we've made our thumb hole here. So go ahead and finish that puff stitch. What we're going to do now is, here's the row we're on. So we're going to finish this puff stitch row, and then a single crochet row, and then a puff stitch row. And then I'll meet back up with you and we'll finish out the top. So finish this row, and then you do your single crochet, and then another puff stitch, and then I'll meet back up with you. Okay, I've made it back to where I said I was going to be. So that was 5 rows of the puff stitches that I've done. So now I'm going to start with my row of single crochet. And we're just going to skip and start right here like we always do. Single crochet. And now if you want to put a stitch marker there, you can. Because now we're going to work in a round, single crochet rounds. I'm actually going to do a total of 3 rows of single crochets. Just around and around 3 times. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that. 3 rounds of singles, and I'll meet back up with you. Okay, once you make it back around to the beginning, after your 3 rows of single crochet, I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch one more time into the next, and then I'm going to tie this off and hide the tails. And then one more thing I'm going to do, you probably don't have to do it, but I'm just going to go around this bottom with a row of single crochet just to clean that up. So I'm just going to do 1 single crochet in every stitch, and then I'm going to hide all my tails. Okay, once you're done doing that, that's it. That's all there is to it. Just need to make 2 the exact same, and that's it. Well, I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and I hope you were able to follow along okay. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, have a good day. Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make these easy fingerless gloves. Now they don't take no time at all, really. They work up really quick because they're made with a thick yarn. And I got a button on them for decoration. Of course, you don't have to put the button on it, but that's what they look like. And they got a little ribbing on the cuffs. And these would be good. You can use for a man too, but I think they'd be good. A unisex glove because they're stretchy, and I think they'll work well for a man or a woman. I use Lion Brand Woolies Quick and Thick. It's an acrylic wool blend, and it's super bulky number 6, and that's what I recommend for this pattern that I have. A color I use is called Wild Strawberry, and there's 87 yards in the skein, and I actually used, for the 2 gloves, it took 1 whole skein and probably like 1 yard of another one. So I mean, I don't know how you crochet, if you'll be able, tighter than me or whatever, if you'll be able to get away with 1 skein. I'm not sure, but it just took like maybe 1 or 2 yards of this other skein. You see, it's practically full, so probably 90 yards at the most for both of them. And then the buttons that I used are 1 5/8 inch buttons, and I got these sparkly ones at my local Walmart in the button aisle. You don't have to use buttons, or you can use any type of button that you have. And then I'm going to be using a size N, which is a 9mm crochet hook. Okay, first thing you want to do is start with a slip knot on your hook. And then we're going to work a chain of 19. And then we're starting on the cuff first. So once you get your chain of 19 made, want to go ahead and slip stitch into the, one single crochet into the second stitch from the hook. Remember that we don't count the one that's on our hook, so the second stitch over and put 1 single crochet. And now we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain. And when you get to the end of your chain, you should have a total of 18 single crochets. Okay, once you make it to the end and you have 18 stitches, what we want to do is for row 2 is chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to be working in the back loops only. So if you look at your stitches, you can see that there is the loop that is closest to you is the front loop, and the loop that's farthest away is the back loop. So we're going to go into this very first stitch here. Right here is the front loop. We want to go into the back loop, so that loop right there, and single crochet. And then we're going to put 1 single crochet in every stitch, working in the back loop only. So in case you can't see here, I'll show you. Here's the front loop of the stitch, the one that's closest to you, and then the back loop is the one furthest away. So we're just working in that one back loop. And we're going to do this 1 single crochet in the back loop only of every stitch until you get to the end of the row, and you can see it's kind of making a little bit of a rib there. And when you get to the end, you still should have 18 single crochets. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 2 and you have your 18 stitches, what we're going to do now is we're just going to repeat row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and working in the back loop of the very first stitch, we're going to single crochet, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch to the end of the row. So we want to keep repeating row 2 till we have a total of 7 rows. We're working on our 3rd row now. So repeat row 2 for a total of 7 rows, and that'll form the cuff. And you should have 18 stitches at the end of every row. Okay, once you get your 7 rows done, what we're going to do is fold the piece in half, just like this. And I'm just going to slip stitch the side together. So I didn't tie off or anything yet, so I'm just going to grab the first stitch over here. I'm going to go through the first stitch here and then grab the first stitch on this side, and then I'm going to slip stitch it. You should, since we had 7 rows, you should have 7 slip stitches, but that doesn't have to be exact. You don't even have to slip stitch it. You can actually sew it with your needle if you want, yarn needle. But I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch it. Kind of get the rows lined up, keep them lined up if you can. That way when you flip it, the rows are even. I probably got more than 7 slip stitches, but that's okay. Okay, once you make it to the end, what I'm going to do is tie off now. Yeah, I was having a little trouble with that last slip stitch. You probably see me struggling. But just go ahead and tie that off. And now I'm going to flip it inside out so this seam's on the inside. Like that. And now I'm going to start. My rows aren't really that lined up, but that's okay. So there's the cuff. And here's the seam back here. And I'm just going to start in a stitch up here along the seam. That way when you wear it, the seam will be in the bag. And you want to start your yarn by chaining 1 and working 1 single crochet back into that same stitch. We're going through both loops now. We're not doing that back loop thing anymore. And we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And you should have 18 single crochets when you get back around. So all the way around the top so you get back over here. Okay, when you make it back around and you have your 18 stitches, now you're going to need a stitch marker. And I'm just going to use this piece of yarn here, and I'm going to put it right here. That way I can keep track of where my row ends and where my row begins. So now I'm going to jump over to the first single crochet and single crochet into it. Not the chain 1, but the first single crochet that we made. And what I want to do now is 5 single crochets in a row, and then I'm going to do an increase stitch. So that counts as our first one. So I want to do 5 in a row. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now on my next stitch, I'm going to put 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And that is an increase. So now I'm going to put 5 single crochets in a row again. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 single crochets into the next. And I'm going to do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then my last stitch, I'll put 2 single crochets into it. Just like that. Now I should have a total of 21 single crochets. So I'm going to move my stitch marker up, and I'm going to go around again, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And I want to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around for 6 rounds. This would be our first one here. When you get to your stitch marker, you should have 21 stitches. Pull it out, move it up, and go around again. And you want to do that 6 times total. We just did it once. I'm working on my second time. So I'm going to continue until I get 6 rounds of 1 single crochet in every stitch with 21 single crochets at the end of every round. Okay, once you did your 6 rows of 1 single crochet in every stitch, if you count, you should have a total from after we sewed it up, counting the first round after that, you should have a total of 8 rounds, because we did the very first round after we sewed it of 1 single crochet in every stitch, and then we did the increase round, and then we did 6 more. So that would be a total of 8. 7, 8. Okay, now we're going to make the thumb hole. Now you can make the thumb hole, you can make the glove the exact same and it would work fine, but the seam, I want the seam on both of mine to be on the bottom, so I'm going to make the thumb hole different. Like here is my left, this is my mitten for my left arm, and as you can see, the seam, the ugly seam, is on the bottom. Now if I was to make it, some people make the gloves the exact same, and if I did and put it on my other hand, the seam would be on the top, if you know what I'm talking about, and I don't want that seam to be on the top. So I'm going to show you how to make the thumb holes opposite sides of each other, and it's really easy. This is the only part really that's different. For the left glove, what we're going to do now is pull our stitch marker up and move it. And now this is for the left glove. We're going to put 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Skip 3. 1, 2, 3. And single crochet into the next. And then single crochet in every stitch until you get back around. There should be 15 stitches till you get back around. Remember, we're working this for the left glove. We only do it different so the seam of the glove on each glove will be on the bottom of our wrists. I know some people say they just show you how to work one and say to use them both the same, and that's fine if you don't have a real noticeable seam, but since this yarn's so thick, my seam's a little noticeable, so I'm going to keep it on the bottom. And remember, left glove here, all the way around, just like that. Now you'll have 18 stitches, and then you'll have this chain 3 here. So we'll pull up our stitch marker, and now what we're going to do is put 1 single crochet in every stitch, the first 3, and then 1 single crochet, or 3 single crochets in this chain 3 space. So we just go right through it and work 3 single crochets, just like that, and that's our thumb hole for our left glove. And now it's just 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around back to the stitch marker, and you'll have 21 stitches. Now that's for the left glove. Well, I already have that one done, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Okay, for the right glove, to make the seam on the bottom, what we're going to do is put we moved our stitch marker up, we're going to put 1 single crochet in the first 15 stitches. So there's 1, okay, there's 15. Now we're going to chain 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1 single crochet into the last 3. So you can see it's similar. The right is similar to the left. It's just you did it on opposite sides. Instead of starting with 3 stitches on this side and then doing your thumb hole, you ended with 3 stitches. Did your thumb hole there. And you should have the same for the right. Now you should have 18 stitches. Move your stitch marker up. 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get to your chain 3. And then when you get to your chain 3 here, 3 single crochets through the chain space. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 single crochet into the last 3 until you get to your stitch marker, and now you'll have 21 stitches again. Now from here on out, it's the same. Working the left or right glove, it's the same. Now see, when I put it on my right hand now, the seam that I don't like is on the bottom. So that's how you adjust for the right and left glove. Now remember, it's the same now, whether you're working the right or the left glove. You just pull your stitch marker up, like that. And now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around. Until you get back to the stitch marker. And we're going to work this 1 single crochet in every stitch around for 2 rounds. So this would be my first one. Just 1 in each of these little, at the top here of the thumb hole. And when you make it back to your stitch marker, you'll have 21 stitches. And now I'm just going to move my stitch marker up, and I'm going to go around 1 more time. And I just want to say again, remember, after the rows, after we did the thumb hole for the left and right, it's the same after that. I mean, I don't want to confuse anybody, so it's the exact same. It's just the row was different. That one row was different. Other than that, everything's the same. We just made the thumb hole on the opposite side. And I apologize if I'm confusing. I don't aim to be. I try to be as thorough as I can, but sometimes I listen to myself and I'm like, what? No one's going to understand that. Okay, this is, once you make it back around to the beginning now, and you still should have 21 stitches back to your stitch marker. Now if you count again from the bottom where we started, you should have 12 rows now. So your first row, we sewed this together, your first row, you should have 12 all together. 12, I do. Great. Now what I'm going to do is 1 more round, and then I'm going to do this is going to be a decrease round just to make the top a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pull my stitch marker out from my 13th round and move it up. And now what I'm going to do is put 1 single crochet in the first 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to single crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, and then I go into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 loops. So that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. And now I'm just going to repeat that. I'm going to put 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. And then a single crochet decrease over the next 2. So I go in to the next one, draw up a loop, and then into the next one, draw up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3. Now I'm going to do that one more time. 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. And you should have 2 stitches left to do a decrease over, and I do. So go in, drop a loop, go into the next one, drop a loop, yarn over, go through all 3, and now I'm going to go ahead and end it by slip stitching into my next stitch like that, and tying that off. And I can take out that stitch marker, clip my yarn, hide all my tails. Okay, one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the bottom with the row of single crochet to clean up the bottom down here. So I'm going to start at the seam, starting a stitch next to it, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to put 1 single crochet back into that same stitch. None of that worked out for me. Let me do that again. Chain 1, 1 single crochet into the same stitch, and then I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch around, just to make the bottom look a little cleaner. And you should have 18 stitches when you get around, or you don't even have to be exact, but just get it close to that if you can. 17, 19 is not gonna hurt anything. Okay, then when you make it around, you just want to slip stitch into the first single crochet you made, not that chain 1, but the first single crochet. Tie that off, hide that tail, and then we'll be done with that. And then if you want to sew buttons on, you can. That's up to you. I'm just going to sew some up here. Probably be pretty down here. Of course, if it's a man's, you probably don't want to sew them sparkly things on. But I'm going to go ahead and get my button sewed on. Okay, that is it. That is all there is to it. Super quick, super easy. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out all my other tutorials. I have hundreds of them. And you can follow me on Instagram. Also, I'll put links to all that stuff below. And until next time, have a good day.